Welcome into Texans Today. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, we're looking at a couple articles over at ESPN One where they give some insight where the professionals over at ESPN said they know what the Texans are doing during the 2024 NFL Draft. I'll tell you what they had to say. And Kiper and Yates, they dropped a 3-round mock draft over on ESPN. I'll break down all 3 of the Texans selections in that mock draft. But before we get started today, this is the time right now to hit that notification bell. Make sure you're subscribed because we are Davis Mills days away, 10 days away from the 2024 NFL Draft, and you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that girl who is out of the loop. You don't want to be the person who's at the water cooler and is like, wait, the Texans, they selected who? The Texans, they're doing what during the draft? You'll know because you hit that subscribe button, you click that notification bell, and you select the all option, which means whenever we drop a video, you're notified. We are the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube. So if you love the Houston Texans, if you want to be the most noted Texans fan out of your fan group, then this is the place to be. Hit that sub button, click that notification bell, and let's get it going. First, let's look at the ESPN's Insight on the Texans draft. Do they know something that we don't? Well, maybe not. This is what ESPN had to say on the Texans drafting strategy. Finding playmakers at defensive tackle or cornerback would give them an A grade for the 2024 NFL Draft. The Texans' overall roster has a few holes after spending almost $170 million in guaranteed money since the start of the new league year. Still, their cornerback and defensive tackle rooms could use talent on rookie deals to develop long-term. Right now, both spots have plenty of guys on one-year deals. And if you hit that notification bell, if you're subscribed to the channel prior to this video, this should not be a big surprise to you. Not a really big shock at all that the Texans are looking at those 2 positions and mainly the defensive side of the football in this draft. I mean, we've been talking about it over and over again that we don't know if the Band-Aid of Jeff Okudah or C.J. Henderson is going to work at the cornerback position opposite of Derek Stingley. And yes, they got DeMeco Autry, they got Foley Fatukasi, but Fatukasi's only on a 1-year deal. DeMeco Autry, he's not really a nose tackle. So the Texans, they have some holes there. They could even get linebacker, even safety. I think they're going to be going heavy on the defensive side of the football in this year's draft. But what say you? What do you think? Do the Texans go defense with their first 2 selections in this year's draft? Give me a yes, give me a no down in the comments section. And tell me who you think the Texans should draft with their 2 first selections in this year's draft. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if you scroll on down, it's going to be the very first one. Go down there and answer today's question during this YouTube ad break. I think they should. I think they should go defense with the first 2 selections that they have this year, unless there is a top offensive lineman on the board. If a Jackson Powers Johnson falls to you, if one of the top offensive line prospects in the NFL draft falls to you at pick 42, I'd be hard-pressed to go against that because obviously you have needs at other places, but if a top flight player is on the board, I still like drafting BPA over need in the draft. That's just where I am at. I still think they go defense with their first 2 selections, but if one of those top guys of an offensive lineman that they absolutely love is there at pick 42, be hard-pressed not to take one of those guys. Going along with this ESPN article, this is what they had to say. Defensive tackle comes up a lot when speaking to sources about the Texans' draft plans. Adding depth to that defensive line has been a major point of emphasis, and I expect that to continue during the draft. The Texans should be right in target range for many of the DTs to start coming off the board. Kris Jenkins from Michigan, Michael Hall Jr. from Ohio State checked many of the Houston's boxes, and Mekhi Wingo out of LSU is a name to watch if the Texans opt to wait until day 3. So yeah, I completely agree with ESPN. As I previously mentioned, DeMeco Autry, Foley Fatukasi, your 2 starters. They also signed Tim Settle, a rotational guy from the Buffalo Bills, but I think at the end of the day, the Texans are going to go D-line with early in the draft with their one of their first 3 picks. Same with corner, I believe, but we shall see where the chips fall, and we shall see who Kiper and Yates had the Texans selecting in their mock draft. A little spoiler, I think I really love the mock draft that Kiper and Yates put together for the Houston Texans. I'll tell you who they have the Texans selecting in just a moment. But first, got to show some love to our sponsors of today's show, and that is Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com, PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Football season may be over, and basketball season, hey, maybe it's over for the Rockets, but the NBA playoffs are here. Baseball is underway. But hey, if you don't know about any of those sports, if you're like, hey, I am a football guy through and through, well, PrizePicks, they have something new for you. Something that I am really excited for, and that is the season-long projections. And I put this baby up for you. CJ Stroud, give me more than 26.5 passing yards over the course of this season. Saquon Barkley, more than 1,055.5 rushing yards on the season. And Danielle Hunter, give me more than 10.75 sacks. You can use my picks. You can fade my picks. Just do it over at PrizePicks. And PrizePicks, they even offer a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play. Even if one of your players gets injured for football and basketball games, you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Same way with their season picks. So PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Another reason why you got to head over and check them out today. Download the app and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for that first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Download the app and check it out today. Now, the latest ESPN mock is one where they had Kiper and Yates. Sorry, McShay. I'm sorry. I couldn't have done this show. I couldn't have, talked about this without saying, it's really weird saying Kiper and Yates rather than Kiper and McShay. Am I the only one? Yeah. Either way, they did their famous, you go, I go mock draft where they kind of selected picks back and back and back. And so we have a couple Yates picks. We have a couple Mel Kiper picks. First up is Field Yates at pick 42, and he picks Mason Smith, defensive tackle out of LSU, and I absolutely love Mason Smith. The more I look into him, 6'6", 315 pounds, a guy with a lot of versatility, and maybe who hasn't even scratched the surface on his potential in the National Football League. This is what Field Yates had to say about this selection. The Texans must continue to bulk up on the inside. Smith is an upside swing for Houston. He has the raw tools to become a disruptor as both a pass rusher and as a run defender. And I love this pick for the Houston Texans. I love the idea of adding Mason Smith to this defensive line. I really love what he brings to the table. Now, the only thing that I was like, I don't know, I had a little head scratching for me with this pick is that these two guys were on the board. Both these guys I have slightly rated above Mason Smith on if I want the Texans to draft them. Jerzon Newton and Jackson Powers-Johnson, they were both still on the board at 42. Not saying I don't like the pick of Mason Smith, but with these two guys on the board, I don't know if the Texans go that way rather than a Jerzon Newton. With his production out of Illinois, he's my top defensive tackle in this year's class. One of the top guys, I think, that should be on everybody's board if they need a defensive tackle. And Jackson Powers-Johnson is an absolute beast at the center position. Plays center, plays guard. Both these guys still on the board for the Texans. So it would be hard for me to pass on them for Mason Smith. But what say you? All these guys are on the board at pick 42. You have these three guys to pick from. Who are you selecting at pick 42? If it's Jerzon Newton, type JN. If it's Jackson Powers-Johnson, give me a JPJ. Or if it's Mason Smith, type MS down in the comments section. Let me know who you would pick at 42. Next up in Kiper's mock draft, or Kiper and Field Yates' mock draft, another pick that I absolutely love, Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia. You're getting your starting corner at pick 59. You love to see it. 37 tackles, 0 interceptions, 8 pass breakups for the Bulldogs last season. This is what Kiper had to say on Lassiter. Lassiter doesn't have elite speed, but he's a really solid corner. The Texans ranked 29th in the league in yards per pass attempt allowed with 7.7 last season. And Lassiter, yes, he's not the amazing athlete, the guy who's going to get 4.29 in the 40-yard dash, but when it comes to, playing the position, having the technique at the cornerback position. I think Lassiter has it all, and if you can get him at pick 59, that is a really, really good option for the Houston Texans and DeMeco Ryans' defense for this season. You get two guys who can start for you with Mason Smith and Kamari Lassiter with your first two selections, and I absolutely love how this mock is going so far before even this pick at pick 86, and this might be my favorite pick of the entire mock draft. I don't know how he falls all the way to 86, but the Texans get my number one ranked safety in the entire draft class with Tyler Nubin at pick 86. I mean, I can't believe that this is how the Texans mock draft laid out. If this is the actual draft, if these are the three picks for the Houston Texans, I'm jumping for joy. And I think in any capacity, you could change these three picks of where they go. You could tell me they got Kamari Lassiter at 42, Tyler Nubin at 59, and Mason Smith at 86, and it's still the same grade. I give it an A for this mock draft. I absolutely love it. This is what Yates had to say at pick 86. Perhaps no safety in the class has better ball skills than Nubin, who finds his way to the football constantly. He had 13 interceptions in college, including 5 in 2023. So, I mean, you get Tyler Nubin, a guy who can, help that safety room, who struggled last year with Jalen Petrie and with Jimmy Ward. So, I mean, I really absolutely loved what Kiper, what Yates did for the Texans in this mock draft. They got 3 positions of need, and they got really good guys at those positions with Mason Smith, the defensive tackle, Kamari Lassiter, the cornerback, and Tyler Nubin, the safety. I gave it an A, but it's not really about me. It's not the Jeremy Chuggs show. This is Chat Sports. This is about me and you having an honest conversation. Me and you going back and forth on what we think the Texans should do, whether or not we like this mock draft. So go down in the comment section and grade this mock. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments. I'll be looking for you and interacting with all your comments down there. So go down there and let your voice be heard. That's all I have for you on today's show. As always, make sure you hit that sub button, turn on the notifications to the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube. And I tell this to you all the time. Go down and hit that sub button. If you don't like it in a week, you can unsubscribe. But let me prove to you, let me show you why we are the number one Texans channel on YouTube. And the reason why we are the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube, we give you Texans news and rumors videos every single day, more live shows, more analysis coming up down the pipeline. So this is the perfect time to go down and hit that sub button and join the wave.